Hello and welcome to Grammar Class. The past perfect tense is our topic today. As you know, we identify the tense of a verb from its structure. So the structure of the past perfect tense is the auxiliary verb had plus the third form of the main verb or the past participle of the main verb. So we understand that in past perfect tense we use the helping verb had and the third form or past participle of the principal verb. Well, now that we know the structure of the past perfect tense, what does the past perfect tense show or denote? The name past perfect implies the completion of an action before a certain moment or time in the past. In other words, the past perfect tense shows that an action was completed before a certain point of time in the past. To put it simply, if an action occurred before a particular point of time in the past, or if an action was completed before another past action, then for the completed or earlier past action we use the past perfect tense. So it's clear now, the past perfect shows that an event or activity took place before a definite time or before another activity in the past. And remember, this definite time or moment in the past before which the action or activity was completed is directly or indirectly mentioned in the sentence. So now we understand that for two past and related actions, the earlier completed action is put in past perfect tense while the next or later one is in the simple past tense. In other words, if two actions took place in the past, in order to show which action took place earlier, which action was completed first, we use the past perfect tense for the earlier or first action and the simple past tense for the later or the next action. But remember, if two past actions took place at the same time, then the use of past perfect tense is not necessary. Obviously, the past perfect is only necessary for the earlier and completed one of the two past actions. Now let's see some examples of the past perfect on your screen. The farmers returned home after the sun had set. I had taken my breakfast before I went to school. In the first sentence, there are two past actions: the farmers returning home and the sun's setting. And in the second sentence, the two past activities are my taking breakfast and going to school. Now we know that the past perfect is used for the earlier completed action while the simple past is used for the later past action. And here in the first sentence, the setting of the sun is the earlier action, so had set is in past perfect tense, and the farmers returning home is the later action, so returned is in simple past tense. And in the second sentence, my taking breakfast is the first or earlier action and going to school is the later activity, so had taken is in past perfect tense and went is in simple past tense. So the concept is clear now. The past perfect is necessary only when there are two past activities and we have to show clearly which activity took place earlier. Now let's see some more examples of the past perfect tense in sentences. The doctor said that the patient had died. Here the patient's dying is the earlier activity, so had died is in past perfect tense. In the same way, the sun had risen when he woke up. There are two past activities mentioned in this sentence: the sun's rising and his waking up. But the sun's rising is the earlier or first activity, so had risen is in past perfect tense. And in the third sentence, he failed for he had not worked hard. His failing is the later or consequential activity, while his not working hard is the earlier activity. So, had not worked is in past perfect tense. So, we can clearly see that the past perfect tense is rarely used for a single past activity. It is used when there is a mention, a direct or indirect mention of a second, later and related past activity. Now, how do you use the past perfect tense in negative sentences? In negative sentences, we put the word not in between the auxiliary verb had and the third form of the main verb. For example, he had not expected such bad news, so he fainted. Here, not has come in between had and the third form of the verb. And then he failed as he had not worked hard. Here also, not is placed between had and the third form of the verb worked. So in this way, in negative sentences, not or never comes after the auxiliary verb had. And in interrogative sentences, the auxiliary verb had comes before the subject, while the principal verb in its third form comes after the subject. Both in active and passive voice, only the auxiliary verb had comes before the subject in interrogative sentences. For example, had the actor died before the film's release? Had the patient died before the doctor came? In these two examples, you can see the auxiliary verb had has come before the subject, the actor, and the patient in these interrogative sentences. Well, up next is another important use of the past perfect tense. Well, the past perfect also shows an unfulfilled wish or desire or regret, which means a wish or desire that remained unfulfilled in the past. For example, I wish I had saved some money. Here, had saved is in past perfect tense. This sentence means I wasted my money. Actually, I did not save my money, but now I wish I had saved some money. This wish remains unfulfilled. And in the exclamatory sentence, if only he had driven carefully, the verb had driven is in past perfect tense. It shows that he actually drove rashly and met with an accident. But one wishes that he had driven carefully, but this wish remained unfulfilled. In this way, the past perfect tense is also used to express an unfulfilled wish, desire, or a regret. The past perfect tense also denotes an imaginary condition that was not fulfilled in the past. In such conditional sentences, we talk about a hypothetical or imaginary condition that was not fulfilled in the past and its imaginary consequence as well. For example, if he had apologized, I would have forgiven him. In this sentence, the verb had apologized in the first clause is in past perfect tense. It expresses a condition that was unfulfilled in the past because he did not apologize and I did not forgive him either. But now it's just my imagination that if he had apologized, I would have forgiven him. But in reality, nothing like that happened. In the second sentence, if he had worked hard, he would have been successful. The verb had worked is in past perfect tense. It shows an imaginary condition of his being successful. In reality, he did not work hard and so he was not successful. So we see here that in conditional sentences that start with the conjunction if, the past perfect tense expresses an imaginary condition of the past that was not fulfilled. Now let's make a quick comparison between the simple past tense and the past perfect tense. Well, the simple past tense simply shows an action done sometime in the past. For example, I returned home late last night. Here the verb returned is in the second form of the verb, and so it is in simple past tense. The simple past tense is used just to show a single past activity or a series of past actions that happened in quick succession or at the same time. On the other hand, the past perfect shows a past action that was completed before another past activity or before a certain moment in the past. For instance, I had returned home before the rain started. Here, my returning home is the earlier or first past action, and the starting of the rain is the later past action. So had returned is in past perfect tense and started is in simple past tense. So unlike the simple past, the past perfect is only used when there were two related past actions and one was completed before the other. Up next, let's learn how the past perfect tense is used in passive voice. In passive voice, the past perfect tense has the structure of the auxiliary verb had plus been and the third form or the past participle of the principal verb. In active voice structure, been is not used in between had and V3 or the third form of the verb, but in passive voice, been is used between the auxiliary verb had and the past participle. We also know that in passive voice the subject is the receiver of the effect of the action, while in active voice the subject is the doer of the action. Now let's see some examples of the past perfect tense in passive voice on your screen. The people had been evacuated before the tsunami hit. In this sentence, the verb had been evacuated is in passive voice past perfect tense. And it is clear from the past perfect tense that the act of evacuation took place prior to or before the tsunami. In the second example, the farmers made merry after the crop had been harvested. The verb had been harvested is in past perfect tense passive voice, which shows that the act of harvesting the crop was completed already, and so the farmers were making merry afterwards. Clearly, in these two examples also, the verbs had been evacuated and had been harvested show the earlier and completed past activity. And last but not the least, here are some common errors made in the use of the past perfect tense. Now take a look at the first sentence on your screen. The patient died before the doctor came. Here there are two past actions mentioned in the sentence, died and came, but both of them are in simple past tense. But obviously the patient's dying is the earlier activity here, so it should be in past perfect tense, so the sentence is wrong, and the correct sentence would be the patient had died before the doctor came. We should use the past perfect tense for the earlier or first action and the simple past tense only for the later activity. In the second example, he said that he had taken his lunch. This sentence is wrong because here the reporting verb said is in simple past tense, and in the same sentence the use of present perfect tense had taken is wrong. Here in place of the present perfect has taken, we have to use the past perfect had taken. So the correct sentence would be he said he had taken his lunch. That's it. Hopefully you liked the video. Please be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe to our channel for more grammar videos. Thanks for watching the video until the end.